who meet every year, usually at a very posh location, to discuss, well, who knows? Because, as you've seen, it's all very hush-hush. Guests include the likes of Henry Kissinger, the head of the IMF, and our very own Prime Minister, as well as Mr. Bowles. The PM joined them for this year's top-secret tete-a-tete, which was being held this weekend in the Watford.
Sunny Watford.
It's where world domination begins. It's like Christmas for conspiracy theorists, including our Adam.
The masters of the universe and their critics have spent the weekend at Watford's posh Grove Hotel for the annual Bilderberg meeting. Could that be the Prime Minister? Did George Osborne and Ed Balls share a ride? Is that the boss of Amazon or of Google? Usually top secret, this year the organisers have released a list of the roughly 150 people in there and the topics they've been discussing, including growth, big data and current affairs. The protesters outside accuse this group of everything, from climate change to coups, but they're mainly annoyed about the lack of transparency. The man in the middle of the crowd is Alex Jones, king of the conspiracy theorists.
Are there any conspiracy theories out there that you think are just too nuts and are just too extreme about these guys?
Yeah, I don't personally think they're extraterrestrials or anything like some people say.
Scary stuff, but this protest seems more like a slightly weird party.
It's just corporate megadeth, so we're here to destroy them all.
Does something not feel right about this today?
It's surrounded by a ring of steel and a big but fairly relaxed police presence, which Bilderberg veterans say is a big change.
Well, I had a baptism of fire in 2009, just outside Athens, so I went along and tried to cover it and spent a week being arrested, rearrested.
While for residents of Watford, it's a bit so what?
Well, I heard it was their secret shadow government meetings. Hasn't been held in England for a long while.
And what do you think of that?
What?
Secret shadow government.
What's that?
Back at base, very few of the 22 invitees from the UK wanted to talk. Well, I just managed to speak to a very senior Bilderberger on the phone. I asked him why all the secrecy, and he said until the 1990s they used to hold press conferences after every meeting, but no journalists turned up, so they stopped doing them. Then, as if by magic, a member of the organisation's influential steering committee turned up in the BBC's offices.
What goes with Bilderberg is an informal discussion about politics and the world's problems with a lot of politicians and businessmen. And we always produce lists of who's there. It's not secret. We don't have a mass audience listening to our discussions, so it's a good informal weekend where we get together. The internet is full of nutty theories about how we're ruling the world, we're going to invade America, we're poisoning the watercourses, all this kind of thing. It's very much duller than that, I can assure you.
Oh, I'm actually slightly disappointed.
Maybe not so sinister after all. But luckily I'm told there's a Bilderberg splinter group called the Trilateral, which includes the Chinese. And you know how open they are.
That was Adam Fleming reporting from Watford. We've not seen him since. So if you see him, point him back here. We're joined by Alex Jones, an American shock jock. He's been campaigning for more openness at the Bilderberg conference. David Aronovich, who's always sniffy about conspiracy theories. He's a columnist for The Times. Alex Jones, you've been covering Bilderberg for a long time. What have you ever found out about it?
In that piece you just played, there's nothing in the water. Hydrofluorosilicic acid in major Harvard studies has been causing a 7-fold increase in bone cancer.
What's that got to do with
Boom.
Bilderberg?
What have I discovered about Bilderberg? The BBC was able to get the documents decades ago that they helped found the Euro, which was actually a Nazi German plan to take over countries economically. No, that's on record. And I've interviewed members of the EU Parliament on the subject who were out there at the event.
But what's that?
3,000 people. They turned 1,000. Bilderberg is heavily involved in the EU plan and helped hatch it, and it is a Nazi plan. They had Lockheed scandals, just like the big lobbying scandals right now in the 70s, and that's why the SS officer, Prince Bernhard, the founder, had to step down. It is the ultimate lobbying meeting while you guys have this huge scandal going on. Your prime minister's going there. Balls was just here, Bilderberg group member. We have forced them from cover to admit that there are puppeteers above the major parties.
David Aronovich. So now now we know
Infowars.com
now we know that Bilderberg has given us the euro.
Yes, I mean, if you talk to Alex for any length of time, you discover all kinds of things that you didn't know about the world.
We've blown it wide open.
You have. You have absolutely blown it wide open. But it leaves me with a huge question for you, Alex. And it's really, you have uncovered the New World Order, which is deadly. It's full of what you call people who are criminals. Well, this is what I'm coming to. It's full of criminals, etc., who seek to run the world and will kill anybody who gets in their way. And you are almost, or have been, a lone crusader powering against them. So how come?
How am I alive?
How are you still alive?
Why am I alive?
Well, no, which is yes. Listen,
Why am I alive?
which is the explanation? One, they don't exist. Or two, you're part of the conspiracy.
No, let me tell you a story.
I say the first.
5 years ago when Obama and Hillary...
I say the second.
5 years ago when Hillary and Obama were at Bilderberg and the Secret Service was there in helicopters, the New York Times came out and said I was crazy. There was no Bilderberg group meeting. And my wife got phone calls, and so did I, threatening to kill us. And the people said, and you better take it serious because you were just talking to your dad that was in the hospital. You better shut your mouth or we're going to cut your head off.
But
now that that's
the going to kill
that
you,
they listen to everybody's phone lines. They call up and harass people that expose them and tell them what they were just talking about.
They harass
You're going to
people.
say there's no spying.
Alex,
it's like Nazi Germany. We only spy on the bad guys, huh?
You let him speak now.
Well, sir, I saw one of your ministers say this, though.
No,
Alex, I'm here.
It's tyranny.
No, shut up.
Infowars.com.
I'm here to testify that your head was not cut off.
Ladies and gentlemen, if they kill me, it turns me into a martyr. It puts big exclamation points on the end of what I've said, and I have put out a lot of information. There's millions of others that are exposing it. And look, we have mega banks that are getting $85 billion a month of U.S. taxpayer money. Most of it goes to Europe and England. British taxpayers, EU taxpayers have to pay to these mega bankers. They're in there setting this up. It's come out. And then the media distracts you with, look at a guy that talked to a lobbyist when the real lobbyist is going on.
Listen, you're not going to dominate this. He gets to speak to. It's not your own radio show. Should we be worried about Bilderberg Group at all?
It's it's mildly interesting, the Bilderberg Group, and it feels, doesn't it, when you were talking about it in the film, slightly kind of out of date as belonging to the era when you couldn't even admit in Parliament that there was a secret, when we called the head of MI5M or whatever it was we called them, we couldn't admit to these things. Yeah. And so to the extent that it seems
people weren't ready to be spied on yet.
What was that a fact?
People hadn't been acclimated yet.
Could you let him finish?
We're in a police state. It's 1984.
Yeah, listen,
you guys just want to normalize it.
Would you let him
Alex,
finish?
how come you're here? If we're in a police state, how come
they actually turned back some of my reporters, but they didn't turn me back, and I was told this because they don't want to make a stink.
Do you think the BBC is part of the Bilderberg Group?
Well, Winston Smith did work here. I mean, come on, Eric Blair worked here, and that's what he said it was.
Why do you think we've let you on? Why have we let you on then?
Because you guys think that you can manage the whole thing, and now our information's gotten too big. I have 3 million radio listeners a day. That's a low number. 3 million. I get about 50 million YouTube views a month. That's a very conservative number. I make films, put them online for free, that get watched 40 million times, like the Obama deception. That's why, because the establishment doesn't know what to do.
Now, Alex has this point, and it's an important one. I would have, say, 10 years ago said, listen to all this stuff. He believes that people put cancer virus in vaccine in order to create a eugenics program. That's what he believes.
We talk about medical discoveries.
And we would have said, and I would have said, hey, that's kind of mad and so on. And it's an interesting psychological phenomenon.
Like Tuskegee, like
the problem is that conspiracy theories like this are believed in.
Hey, listen, I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game. Okay, our government in the U.S. is building FEMA camps. We have an NDAA where they disappear people now. You have this arrest for public safety, life in prison.
You are the worst person I've ever interviewed.
No, it's basically off with their heads, disappear
David,
them,
thank you for being with us.
Infowars.com.
11:30. You're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot in the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No. You guys are crazy.
I'll be looking at the week ahead with our political panel. Until then, the Sunday Politics across the UK.
Thinking the public isn't waking up. Ladies and gentlemen, I just went on one of the biggest news programs in the United Kingdom. It also airs around the world. It is the BBC One Sunday show, Sunday Politics. And they had a Bilderberg Group member, the shadow secretary of the Exchequer, or their finance minister, their IRS boss, their treasury secretary. They had Ed Balls here, And I was able to shoot a video that we're going to upload and put on Infowars.com along with this one, where I confronted Balls about the Bilderberg group. Now, when he did it out in the green room, when Balls left and I went on for a debate, they were already escorting them out of the building minutes later when I came out. So they were throwing them out of the building because he asked Ed Balls some questions. Now, when I was going live on the show, they had one of the steering committee heads of the Bilderberg group talking for one of the first times ever to the BBC. So we told you a few days ago they'd be speaking on record, they'd be going public. It was done to the BBC. We told you that, so that report was documented. Because we're conspiracy theorists, we knew from MI5 sources 3 days before that they were going to be going public like you just witnessed. I was told that in a meeting with the police and others. I'll just leave it at that. And we put it out on Infowars.com. Drudge Report picked it up. Now, the bigger issue here is he's sworn an oath to have a secretary there in any type of governmental discussion meetings, and Bilderberg certainly does that, and he's violated his oath. Ed Balls and all the other people like the Prime Minister Cameron that went to this thing, and now they're just flaunting it. The reason they wanted to keep it secret is because what they're doing is illegal here. It violates the Logan Act, federal law in the U.S., and they go, well, that isn't enforced. Just like it's a felony for the NSA to spy on us without warrants and run these dragnets, but they just get away with it. So as we force all this out, that's good, but it's also bad because people just go, well, we always knew that. So see, we're being proven right. But here's Paul Watson to discuss those videos. But this is historic. I want to add one more thing. When he started telling me shut up on the show, that's when I said shut up back to him. And people will spin it, and they'll say, oh, my gosh, Alex Jones, blew it. He should have been calm. That doesn't go over in England. If I would have been calm, it would have aired on that one show and not the dozens of TV shows it's now going to air, and they're going to go check out my information at Infowars.com, just like with Piers Morgan. People said, you shouldn't have gotten Piers Morgan's face and said, if you try to take our firearms, 1776 will commence again. Folks, I'm nonviolent offensively. I'm violent to defend myself defensively. But Paul Revere rode around saying to arms, get ready to kill people. They're coming to take our guns. And we're like, yeah, that's an American icon. Then I say, don't try to take our firearms or it'll probably start a war. And it's, oh my gosh, it's too much. This is the domestication process that we see everything going through. And so they wanted to have it all be a nice, easy thing of, oh, sit back and be quiet, sit back and be calm. That'll get things done. Just, grin and bear it. No. The answer to the 1984 tyranny is 1776. Paul Watson, we're going to upload this video first. The others are coming. But tell people exactly what you saw and what happened when you confronted the Bilderberg group member.
Yeah, well, Ed Balls had just finished his interview before Alex came on. He was walking out of the broadcast studio, confronted him and said, you've broken your ministerial code. He said, I'm not a minister. Well, he is. He signed up for that in 2005, so he's lying there. Asked him about the secret meeting, what they talked about, refused to answer, and left. And then we left the building.
And again, you brought that up, and that's when they got upset because that's what they don't want to discuss. And the host of the show talked to him before he came out in the green room and said, well, tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
So what do you think, and I haven't even asked you your view of this yet, what do you think of my performance in there? And by the way, he said, I think that's an act, which it's not. They were calling it my performance. How do you think that'll be received? I think it'll be received negatively at first, but then over time it'll become iconic.
Well, yeah, it's mixed. It's the same with the Piers Morgan, but if you don't act like that, then you're not going to get on the BBC. That's Alex Jones. That's why he's on the BBC. So I missed half of it because I was confronting Ed Balls, but from what I saw, you stayed on target, you stayed on the facts, and then you exploded at the end, which is what we all expect and which is what everyone wants. So
exactly. It's time to get out of your trance. I had so many psychiatrists, psychologists, propaganda experts, people that work for the system but have gone against them, tell me that what we did with Piers Morgan and here and other shows breaks people out of the trance, out of their normalcy, out of that kind of subdued, relaxed. We shouldn't be relaxed. We're being spied on. We're being poisoned. We're being robbed. I mean, I'm in there, and I try to bring up how they're taking billions of dollars and giving it to foreign banks, and they just didn't want to talk about that. This is direct taxation like Cyprus, where they take money out of your bank account and give it to private individuals and go, well, the Cyprus are corrupt. They're all gangsters. No, these people are the gangsters. They always demonize you before they rob you. And it's time for people to stop complying with all this crap. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say great job to my entire crew back in Austin as well, but Paul Watson, Leanne McAdoo, and of course Richard Reeves, and all the other people that have helped us. And we're here in beautiful London, England. More reports coming up, but we've just confronted Bilderberg. I'm Alex Jones signing off from the BBC for Infowars.com.